who happens to be, well, identify as female, LGBT and all that. Montana, well, the legislature is full of a bunch of girlymanchilds who can't hear that there's blood on their hands, or will be blood on their hands. There's already blood on their hands. We got one representative there in Montana. Said her daughter was suicidal for 3 years. When asked if she would do anything, she said no. She'd let her daughter fucking kill herself. God damn. That's fucking cold-hearted. That's the kind of person that would strangle your 6-year-old, put her in a bucket, and then wheel her in a little kid's radio flyer wagon down to the mom's house and leave the corpse there in a bucket. This woman is sick in the head to say such things. What is your protocol when somebody is suicidal? Is it to find out why, or is it to lock them up because they're mentally ill? To make a profit for the hospitals, for the police, for the jails, for the medication manufacturers. But who are you not helping? The actual victim. Although I do not agree with children being able to decide whether or not they want to transition, especially when it's the case of a female transitioning to a man. You know what happens to females who transition to being men? Even fat man-haters who never got enough attention from men, who decide that they're going to transition to become men, realized shortly thereafter that they were safer and better off as women. Also, that their expected routine, the things they used to do with their lady friends, they're no longer allowed to do because they're now men. One lady, she said right after she had the transition and became a man, that the first rude awakening was when she was going to walk in through a door to go to a convenience store, and the person in front of her did not hold the door open for her. She walked right into it. Whether or not I'm a part of the LGBT community, I suppose, depends on which members of the LGBT community that you ask. Because the gay men that I know don't think that I should qualify. Of course, I don't qualify as a heterosexual either, although many people group me into that category too. So I get the bullshit for being straight, and I get the bullshit for being gay. Meanwhile, I'm neither. I'm not fucking interested. Now, Miss Zephyr said there will be blood on their hands if they don't allow underage children to transition. I don't think underage children should be allowed to transition. They don't know what the real world is fucking like yet. Before you decide to transition and become a male, the first thing you should do is try being a male for a year. Try dressing as a male and living as a male for an entire year. I mean it. If you can transition and be a man for an entire year, hell, I can even teach you how to have a manly voice as a woman. If you can handle that, then maybe, but you should be an adult first, because it's a lot different under your parents' roof than it is in the real world. Ask any veteran out on the streets. Now, of course, there's many of y'all that think that I am anti-LGBT. No, I'm anti-hate. And there's a lot of hatred coming from the LGBT community right now, specifically targeting straight white men. Straight white men are the problem, aren't they? They're the reason for everything that went right in your life, right? Or no, it's everything that went wrong, of course. White men are the enemy. We're the enemy because of our genitalia and what we were born with. What was Miss Zephyr born with? Male or female genitalia? Is Miss Zephyr treated nicer or worse after the transition? Has Miss Zephyr had the surgery, or does Miss Zephyr just identify? And why is it the world's business? See, when your whole platform is based on shoving your homosexuality or heterosexuality in other people's faces, well, I'm not going to fall for your bullshit. I'm not going to believe it. I'm not required to. And I shouldn't be required to be. I don't believe that children have the mental capacity to decide whether or not they are mentally capable of transitioning. When I was a kid, hell, there was a while there that people had me convinced that I must be gay because women weren't interested in me. And if women weren't interested in me, it must be because I'm gay. The only people that women aren't interested in are gay people, and blah, 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 blah. Holy Christ, does it ever end? But then we got these girlymanchilds in Montana that want to get pissed off over words and obstruct justice to step in the way of Miss Zephyr. Now, I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong. I was trying to type it out, and it just came out as Zephyr, so close enough. Does that make me a jerk for not getting the name right? Oh, of course it does. I don't agree with Miss Zephyr, but I wholeheartedly believe that she should be allowed to go to her job and do her job. And that includes sticking up for her constituents, even minority constituents, such as the LGBT community. Meanwhile, we get to see how homosexuality and cross-dressing is treated as a mental illness. It's treated as if these people are idiots who don't know how they feel, don't know how they think. My problem isn't that they don't know how they think or how they feel. My problem is that they don't know what the fuck they're stepping into. A man's world is hell. It's not this fucking shit and rainbows that you fucking think it is. After you transition to being a man, are you going to get a man's job? Are you going to work heavy construction? Or are you going back to your job and going back reformed and changed and expect all your office workers to treat you the same as they used to? A lot of people, especially who transition from being women to being men, they have the highest suicide rate in the country. There is no group that has a higher suicide rate per capita than women who transitioned to become men. None. That is how much different the world really is once you have a penis. Even your friends that know that you were born a woman are going to change and treat you differently. And then they're going to be aggravated with you when you say, hey, we don't hang out like we used to. And you tell your formerly female friend, oh, you know, things haven't changed. You did. No. It's the same person inside of there. And that feeling of loss when you aren't the same friend that you used to be before the transition. When your former lesbian friend is now a guy, and you can't do any of the lesbian things you used to do because she's transitioned into being a guy. So I don't agree with Zephyr's argument, but I'm willing to go to Montana and take a bullet to defend it. You think Miss Zephyr will ask me to go there and defend her rights? Probably not. Of course, Montana has not been historically good to me, has it? Although there are individuals within that state who have been good to me, haven't there? Like Mary Mountain Sheep, who passed away of cancer. And Lila Mountain Sheep, who I didn't get to see the last time I was there. And John Nomi and Gilbert. I made a video called The Missing Women of Hardin, Montana back in 2019. It was after I left Washington State, visiting my dad, and he was a douchebag, as always. And as I was traveling through, I ran out of gas, and my vehicle broke down during a really bad storm. Mary Mountain Sheep took care of me. Lila Mountain Sheep took care of me. Their grandmother took care of me. They made me feel loved. They made me feel welcome. That's something we're missing in our society today. That unity. The unity by the Maori, the Slingi. It's taught by the Tatongan peoples. One peoples. I'm scared all the time. I see what's going on in the world around me, and it ain't right. It ain't good. It ain't positive. Too much death, too many excuses. Too much of this, you ain't the right color to be a victim. You ain't the right gender to be a victim. We're making laws that are not equal. Instead of making it more illegal for these police officers to do these things, you only make it more illegal to do it to specific groups. I'm against that too. If it's wrong, it's wrong. It's not just wrong to do it to Christians. It's not just wrong to do it to Muslims or atheists. Wrong is wrong. Doing it back is not wrong. See, there's the golden rule. There's two different ones, isn't there? First one is treat people how you want to be treated. That doesn't work, does it? The second one is he who has the gold makes the rules. That one is far more true. If you don't have the real money for a real lawyer, because they're not going to take monopoly money, you are property of the state and you have no rights. God bless America. Meanwhile, these ultra-conservative right-wing Christians would rather see their offspring die than do anything about them being suicidal. Why was your daughter suicidal? Probably because you're a fucked up bitch. Oh my God, Sean said bitch. Oh my God. You goddamn right I did. You know what else, though? I have a unicorn hat. And I like my unicorn hat. I even wear my unicorn hat in public. I do like the idea of Jesus, so I do support the Bible, in part. I will not support organized religion, and I will not support children and their bodies being mutilated. I don't believe that a child should have the right to mutilate their own body, regardless of what they believe, because they haven't lived in the real world. They don't know what it entails, what it takes, or what they're going to go through. And especially if you're transitioning from being a woman to being a man. Holy shit, you got a lot coming. I don't mean a lot of horrible things that you deserve. I mean, you're going to get treated that way regardless. You may not deserve it. They're still going to give it to you. Montana's doing the same thing to Zephyr that I've had happen to me everywhere I go. Being blackballed. Being illegally and immorally targeted for being different. Being victimized for fighting for our rights, not just hers. No, I don't agree with what Zephyr has to say about that, there being blood. But you know what? She got off easy. Because if it had been me, they'd have said, oh, well, that's a threat against people's lives. You were threatening the lawmakers of Montana. You said there will be blood on their hands. Well, there's already blood on their hands and they don't give a shit, Zephyr. That's the point. That's why you need to fight for your Second Amendment rights. Because your First Amendment rights are being trod upon. What did it take for black people to finally get rights? Was it Martin Luther King Jr. and his Million Man March? Hell no. It was a bunch of black folks who got fed up and walked onto the floor of the California Senate armed. That's right. I wonder to myself, how many of those LGBT in Montana have access to guns? Well, it's probably like Nebraska. There's probably a lot of access. There's not a very large population, however. What are the chances of getting enough armed LGBT to the Senate floor to get heard? Far greater than the chances of a homeless group of individuals doing such a thing. The homeless are the least likely to be armed. We're also the most likely to be victimized in every category. I fight for Ms. Zephyr's rights to her freedom of speech and her appointed office, because that freedom of speech is my freedom of speech. That freedom of speech is your freedom of speech. That freedom of speech is even that lady who would let her child die rather than do the right thing. I even fight for her freedom of speech. But what are the girly men, children's, of the Montana government doing? That's right. Taking away a human being's inalienable right to the First Amendment. If you're going to alienate that person the way that I was alienated, you goddamn right I'll speak up. You son of a bitches. Fucking cowards. You can't win through proper means, so you have to do illegal and immoral things. It's too bad Montana isn't a coastal state, or I would wish it into the ocean. Not that wishing ever did anybody a goddamn bit of good. You got to get off your ass and do something. Thank you, Zephyr, for getting off your ass and fucking doing something. I don't have to agree with what you got to say. The fact is, you got balls enough to say it. Labes enough to say it. However you want to fucking say it.